In 1985, Prince was in an extremely creative zone. Not only was he riding high off the success of Purple Rain, he was also working on his next album, Around the World in a Day, along with material for the next official album after that called Parade, a solo album as an alter ego called Camille, and an album with his band The Revolution called Dream Factory. Both Dream Factory and Camille would be reworked into Prince's album Sign of the Times, and also Crystal Ball, which was released by his estate after his untimely death in 2016. While Prince was doing all of that, he was also producing and doing side projects with other bands. One of those side projects was with a group called The Family. They released one album called The Family because, as we all know by now, you cannot officially be considered a recording artist unless you name an album after yourself. Those are facts. Look it up. Anyway, there was one song on that album that Prince wrote that, much like the album that it came from, received very little attention, at least not from the public. As it turns out, one artist did notice the song and wrote it to international superstardom. Sinead O'Connor was born on December 8, 1966 in Dublin, Ireland as the third of 5 children. Here's a fun fact for you. She was actually born literally 13 days before me. I was born in Lincolnshire, England. She was born in Dublin, Ireland. Twinsies! Not really, but in any event, just my little personal fact for you. Anywho, Sinead released her critically hailed debut album, The Lion and the Cobra, in 1988, which, to be honest, is my absolute favorite album of hers. That album had some cult hits on it, like Lay Your Hands on Me, Troy, and Mandinka, which earned her a Best Female Rock Vocal Performance Grammy nomination. In 1989, Sinead got to work on her sophomore album. As she was working on material for the album, she came across the Family's version of Prince's song. The song about loss struck a chord in Sinead that reminded her of the loss of her mother, who she said abused her as a child, but who was killed in a car accident in 1985 before Sinead had made a name for herself. Sinead recorded a 5-minute, 10-second power ballad version of the song, Nothing Compares to You, with her producer, Nellie Hooper. Her record label, Chrysalis, put it on her new album, I Do Not Want What I Have Not Got, and released the song on January 8, 1990. The John Mayberry-directed music video for it had just a single camera trained on her face with an all-black background, with a couple of cuts of Sinead walking through the Parc de Saint-Cloud in Paris, France, thrown in for a few seconds at least. The parts where she's crying in the music video while she's singing were real. Those were actually real tears for the video. They were not computer edited. Both the single and the music video were international smash hits. The single went top 5 in 20 different countries. 18 of them went to number 1, including America, while the album that it came from topped the charts as well. Critically, the song was huge with extremely good reviews. Sinead was lauded for her vocal skills in the song, going from anger to a whisper and back again over and over and not missing a beat while doing it. When you hear her singing that song, you would swear that she was the one who wrote it because you believe she's feeling everything that she's singing in real time. Sinead's version of the song has also made a ton of the greatest songs of the 90s and of all time lists. The single went on to be nominated for a bunch of awards, including a few Grammy Awards, while the music video cleaned house at that year's MTV Video Music Awards, winning Best Female Video, Best Postmodern Video, and Video of the Year, making Sinead the first female artist to take home the coveted Video of the Year prize. In 1993, Prince would release his own recording of the song, but as beautiful as his version is, Sinead just nailed it better. And it's one of those times that a cover version of a song is actually better than the original. However, Nothing Compares to You and Purple Rain were the two songs most used when Prince would tragically pass away in 2016. In fact, there was a worldwide radio simulcast of Sinead's version of Nothing Compares to You exactly 15 days and 7 hours after Prince passed away in honor of the lyric that starts off the song, "It's been 7 hours and 15 days since you took your love away." In short, it is an extremely well-written song, as you would expect Prince to have written, along with one of the most emotional, gut-punching vocal performances of the past 50 years, masterfully sung by Sinead O'Connor. Every generation kind of needs an artist who pushes the buttons and agitates in order for some conversations to start up. Sinead was definitely one of those artists for Generation X. In fact, she was a wrecking ball, but it was her cost for having strong opinions and having a voice to say them, and she gladly paid that price. In order to understand Sinead's impact, you have to remember the times and the place that she came from. Ultraconservatism was huge in the Western world in the 1980s and even into the late 90s. Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush were the presidents in that era. The moral majority Christian conservatives were in control of the media and government in America. In the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher and John Major were prime ministers during this time. In Ireland, you had the battles and the bloodshed between the Catholics and the Protestants, and also the power of the Catholic Church. The Irish part is what molded Sinead. The American part is what almost crushed her career completely, or rather, as she put it, the career her record label wanted her to have. After the success of both the song and the album, Sinead became one of more than a few artists who bit the hand that fed her and rightfully railed against the music industry, famously boycotting the Grammy Awards in 1991 at the height of her popularity. She boycotted a performance on Saturday Night Live when it was announced that the guest host that night was shock comedian Andrew Dice Clay, who was known at the time for making misogynistic jokes. She said that she would not play in a stadium that played the American national anthem before her concert, which got Frank Sinatra so angry that he said during his own performance that he would, quote, "kick her ass," end quote. She took on the subject of abuse that was done by the Catholic Church by ripping up a photo of the Pope during a performance on Saturday Night Live on October 3rd, 1992, and then screamed, "Fight the real enemy," which got her into a ton of trouble and derailed her career in America for a time anyway. During the next week's episode of Saturday Night Live, guest host Joe Pesci held up the retaped photo of the Pope and said that if he were the host that night, he would have hit her, to which the audience applauded loudly because hitting women is good? I mean, between Joe Pesci and Frank Sinatra wanting to hit and kick her. Anyway, even famous church agitator Madonna went after Sinead for doing what she did, though most people pointed out Madonna's hypocrisy and history and figured that Madonna was just using it for some extra publicity for a photo book that she was selling at the time. A few weeks after that, Sinead was booed mightily at a Bob Dylan tribute concert. On stage, fellow performer Chris Christopherson kept her close to him, protecting her from the crowd, gave her a big hug, and said to her, "Don't let the bastards get you down." Funny thing was, Sinead was years ahead of her time in protesting the abuses of the Catholic Church, as the accusations of abuse by priests and the cover-up by the Catholic Church would start to become news in the media and in the court systems worldwide about a decade or so later, so way ahead of her time. Then there was Sinead's search for meaning in her life through different religions. She was ordained as a minister in the Latin Trinitine Church, which is a denomination of the Catholic Church that is not under the Pope's control. That happened in 1999. She then converted to Islam in 2018. As people have aptly pointed out, she had her struggles with mental health issues for decades, including being hospitalized after sending out tweets where she was crying out for help. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Her son Shane, whom she lost custody of when he was 13 to Shane's father due to her mental health issues, lost his life in early 2022. Throughout all of this, Sinead put out 9 more albums after the success of I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, and while they did not have the same success in America that the album did, her other albums did garner her a bunch of various award nominations. In 2021, she released her memoirs and announced her retirement from the music industry. There was recent talk that she was working on a new album that was going to be put out in 2024 and that a tour would soon follow. However, on July 26, 2023, Sinead O'Connor passed away from natural causes in London, England, at the age of 56. In death, there have, of course, been the usual tributes from celebrities, some who knew her and most who didn't but act like they did because they saw her at an event here or there. I guess that actually counts as friendship in celebrity circles. Only the few people whom she called friends were really there for her when she needed them. Others either made fun of her issues while she was alive or talked down to her when she would offer advice to not sexualize themselves for the music industry, which was the exact advice that she gave Miley Cyrus when Miley was going through that phase in her career, to which Miley attacked Sinead and told her to seek help. Sinead also said wild things about celebrities sometimes during her many mental health episodes, such as accusing Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy of being the ones who had given Prince the painkillers, especially in 2016. Still, in an era when no one stood up for anything or only pushed buttons because it either got them attention or a payday, much like today's era of influencers and reality show stars, Sinead stood up for what she felt was right and stood against what she felt was wrong, regardless of the personal or professional cost. She spoke out about racism, especially in the music industry, abuse, a woman's right to choose, the events in Northern Ireland at that time, and human rights. And she never backed down from anything or anyone unless she felt that she might have aimed her weapon of choice at the wrong person, which did happen sometimes. See the Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall comments. She was also open and honest about everything in her life, including her own fallacies. Even her signature shaved head was partially an act of rebellion, since her record label wanted her to grow her hair long to make her, in their words, quote, more feminine, end quote. Sinead wasn't about sexualizing herself for her fans. She let her music do the talking for her because Lord knows she left it all out there in her music for everyone to see. In short, Sinead O'Connor was a badass. The world could use more people like Sinead. Unfortunately, her like rarely walk the earth, especially these days. The death of the incomparable, iconic, rebellious Sinead O'Connor, July 26, 2023, from natural causes in London, England, at the age of 56.